evening, everybody, and welcome to the Congregational Church of Littleton's Facebook page. So glad you're with me this evening. No matter who you are or where you are in life's journey, you are welcome here. So today's reading for our Wondering Wednesday is continuing the Jesus Storybook Bible. We will see. Let's see. It is called The Warrior Leader. And it's Joshua and the Battle of Jericho from Joshua 3 and 6. All right. After Moses died, God gave his people a new leader. His name was Joshua, which means the Lord saves. Joshua was going to lead God's people into the special land God had promised to give them. By this time, God's people had been wandering around in the baking desert for 40 years. Ooh, that's a really long time. So you can imagine how sick they were of sand and anything yellow, and tents, and walking, and being hot. And how happy they were to reach the edge of the desert to see their beautiful new home right there in front of them. All cool and green and lovely. There was only one problem. Jericho. Jericho was a city. But it wasn't just any old city. It was a fortress, and it stopped anyone from getting into the land. The people looked at Jericho, at the big, giant, scary walls all around it, and tall, towering ramparts at the heavy iron gates bolted shut. At each other. Oh boy. What would they do? No one knew. But God knew. And God told Joshua what to do. But Joshua must have looked surprised, because it was a very odd battle, plain indeed, as we'll soon find out. Then God made his people a promise. I will always be with you, and I will never, ever leave you. If you do what I say, your lives in the new land will be happy, and everything will go well. So Joshua gathered his army together. They had their swords and spears and shields. They were ready to fight. But the plan wasn't about fighting. It was about trusting in doing what God said. Joshua's army went marching around the city, day after day. They're too scared to fight, the people in Jericho said. Look, it's like a big circle, and they're marching around it. But they were wrong. God's people weren't scared. They were waiting for God to tell them what to do next. On the seventh day, God told his people to march around the city not once, but 7 times. And then God told everyone to make as much noise as they could. And now, has anyone ever told you to make as much noise as you could possibly make? Anybody ever told you to do that? Well, imagine the noise, add 39,999 other people making that noise too, and you get the idea. It was ear-splitting. Could you imagine that? 40,000 people making a really loud noise all together. Whew. And as it turned out, stone splitting too, because the huge strong walls of Jericho just crumbled to the ground as if they were made of sand. Jericho vanished in a great cloud of dust. So it was that God's people entered their new home, and they didn't have to fight to get in. They only had to walk. Joshua said, God has brought you safely here. Now will you do what he says? Everyone said, we promise. Only God can make your heart happy, Joshua said. So don't pray to pretend gods. No, they said, never. I'm afraid they didn't keep their promise. They didn't do what God said, and many years later, Just as God warned them, things would go badly for God's people. They would lose their home. Enemies would capture them and take them off as slaves. And God's people would scatter into many different lands. But God's plan was still working. One day he would give his people another leader and another home. But this home no one could ever take from them. And that is the end of our story. Whoa. What a story that was. So, we think about back to Moses, right? And how he was helping his people through the desert. Now Moses is gone. Joshua's taking over. He's now leading the people and listening to God. And they've been in the desert for 40 years. Sit and think for a minute. I wonder, what would it be like to be in the desert for 40 years? The desert is hot during the day and very sandy. And if I believe I'm correct, it can get pretty cold at night. No water, no oceans at the desert. Wow, I wonder what it was like to be in that desert for 40 years. Such a long time. But then they finally and they saw their land. There it was. There's the land God had promised them. It was green. It was beautiful, and they couldn't wait. But, oh no, they can't get to it. There's this big city in the way. It's like a fortress. Big walls. They can't get to this beautiful land because Jericho is there. What are they to do? They were ready for a fight. But God told them to trust in her. Trust in God, and let's see where she'll bring you. Wow. I wonder how they felt about that. Don't fight. Just march. Listen to my words. I'll keep you safe. I wonder how it feels when you're thinking you want to do one thing, but God's telling you, let's hold off. Listen to me. We're going to do something else. I wonder if any of you had a time like that, where you were thinking, this is what we should do. This is it. This is what's going to help me. But then there's somebody, or there's this little voice. Maybe you can hear God talking to you, or maybe it's something inside you that's telling you, I'm not sure that's right. Or maybe it's your best friend telling you, I think maybe we should try this. Have you ever been in that position? What is the right way to go, right? What should you do? I wonder about that for a little bit. What would you do if you thought you should do one thing and God was telling you to trust in her and to do something else? Well, in our story here, they did trust in God. They listened to God. They marched around Jericho 7 times. And then they made the loudest noise that they could. Have you guys ever made a really loud noise? Like, really loud. If you ever want to try it, make sure you go outside. See how loud of a noise you can make during the day, the middle of the day. Not too early, not too late. We don't want to wake up and bother our neighbors. But a loud noise. I wonder how it would sound. Now, whatever noise you make that you find really loud, think about 39,999 other people doing that same sound. So altogether, that would be 40,000 people. You and all the rest making that sound. How that would sound. In the story, it was so loud, it made the walls crumble. I wonder if we could make a sound so loud that a wall would crumble. Wow. And then they were able to walk right through and get to their land, to where they could be happy. I wonder how they felt when they got to their land. Think about that for a minute. Think about you wanting something so badly, wanting to get somewhere so badly, and you couldn't wait to get there, and it was like taking forever. Maybe it was a vacation you were going on, or visiting a grandparent, or I don't know. Thinking about what it felt like to finally get there. right? I think right now the best thing I could think of is we haven't been in school and we haven't been in church for a really long time. And I don't know about you guys, but I really can't wait to get back. I can't wait to see everybody. And I wonder when we finally get there, we finally get back to be with everyone, to see our friends again, how that's going to feel. Because we know it's going to be a little bit different. That's a thing to wonder about now. What would that feel like to you? So, I'm so glad that you guys all joined me tonight for our Wondering Wednesday. We will read another story next Wednesday. We have our Zoom meetings on Friday for Sunday school, so if you want to join Sunday school and you don't have a link, remember, just send me a message. I'll make sure you get it. This Friday, we're going to read the book We're All Wonders, and we will talk a little bit about that. All right, everybody, thank you so much for joining me tonight. Goodbye.